and welcome to the Geary Cast. It's Alex Ashmore, an unfamiliar voice. I was, back after a little hiatus. I think it was Elche the last time I was on the pod. I'm joined by the one and only Chris Marquez. Chris, how are you doing on this fine Friday evening? Although you said it's raining down where you are. Is it still raining?
Guess who's back? Back again. Alex back. Now a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Banana.
Thank you very much.
Alex, we have to talk with your boss. If you send me his phone number, I will put things at his place. Because you work. How many hours do you work?
I mean, although it feels like I'm working more than I should be, it's because I'm probably working evenings that it probably feels like I'm working more. So usually I start about midday and I finish at about 9 o'clock.
Are you sure you're not working for Apple in Vietnam?
No, I had to pay for this phone. I didn't get this for free.
How cute! Do you think employees of Apple who make the phones get iPhones for free?
No, maybe it's not part of the company benefits.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. I'd have to ask an Apple genius. I don't know if they do get Apple products for free. Maybe they get a 10% discount.
I don't think so.
How are you doing, Chris?
I think they get a 10% of a normal wage. I think that's what they get. I'm doing very well. Are you laughing, Alex?
I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing
well. If you think about it, it's really
Say that
sad.
again, sorry.
It's not funny, is it? To be honest, if you think about it, it's really sad.
It is, and I think that's a subject for another podcast and another.
Oh, you don't dare!
I mean, we'd be here all night if we were talking about that.
This thing costs like over 1,000 euros.
Yeah. Well,
crazy.
In other news, we've got a double whammy for you all this week. Tenerife are playing Malaga. Well, sorry, they played Malaga on Thursday night. It's been a long week, apologies. And they are playing Eibar this weekend. So we're doing a review and a preview all in one. But first, we've got a little bit of news on the 24th, which is now a Thursday. This is being recorded on the Friday. There was an end date put in place for the Ricardo Horta case, which is the 5th of November. Malaga want a sell-on percentage of 50% of any future sale of the player. That is, they're saying they want that, or the deal doesn't happen. The net fee that they are supposedly in agreement of is 7 million euros. Chris, what do you reckon to all of this? I saw a comment the other day, I can't remember who it was from, saying it feels a bit silly us asking for a sell-on percentage in a deal for a player where we were originally meant to get a sell-on percentage, and this is where we got here. This is how we got there in the first place. What do you make of it all?
I think it's ridiculous. Even that the TAS is not willing to come with an answer or with a verdict in this case and close it. But why? I mean, let's be honest. How long is this case already on the table? 2 seasons?
It feels longer. Yeah, it feels longer, but perhaps around that, yeah.
If Braga wanted to come to a solution with Malaga, they had plenty of time with it. And now the TAS, I don't know why. There is no logical reason for it, are doing this. Well, the FIFA already said that Malaga was in its right.
Yeah. No, it feels unnecessary.
And my question is, the FIFA, which is the biggest, how do you call it? Organization in football. When they gave Malaga all the rights, I think the TAS should back up the FIFA a bit.
Yeah, I mean, if FIFA, the governing body, are saying this is what the case is. Malaga owed this money. There shouldn't have to be another court case go through and then decide whether Malaga get that money. I feel like it's prolonged unnecessarily and it's dragged out. And
then I think maybe is the TAS not so fond about the FIFA, because we all know that the FIFA is the FIFA, right?
I feel like we found our name for the podcast already.
So I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous, and it shows once more that the beautiful game, which was founded in the very early days of England, has become more a game of money than a game of something you play with your feet and the ball.
Yes. Well, so as recording, as I said this on the 25th of October, the Friday, the deadline has been set to the 5th of November, which is 11 days from now.
Yeah.
That is...
And then it will be till the end of February, and then the spring, and then summer, and then summer we go on holidays, and then winter to 25, and then it's Christmas again, and then 26, 27, 28, 29. I don't know.
Well, there was an original deadline that's now been moved forward. What was the original deadline? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
It was within October, so that's already been pushed forward or pushed back, whichever way you want to say it. And, well, no end in sight at the moment for Malaga. Other than that, there's not really much else in the way of news in the world of Malaga this week. It's been a...
Alex.
Say that again, sorry?
That's a good thing. That's good.
Yeah, in a way it's good, especially over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Nice quiet week, I think, at this club.
The quiet week is less work for us.
Exactly.
It means that things are quiet at the club, which hasn't been for a long time. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yes, concentrate on the football, as many would say. Well, talking of football, Malaga did have a game last night, Thursday night, our first midweek game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, away to none other than Pepe Mel's Tenerife. It finished 0-0. Malaga, I think, came into the game with high hopes. Obviously, Tenerife struggling this season, sitting
they're
bottom table.
Closing the table. So we can say we went down to the Pepe Well.
So yes, Tenerife after the game now sit bottom. They were bottom before with 1 win from 11 games. Let's go back to the very beginning of it all and have a look at the lineups, Chris. I remember you saying in the WhatsApp group chat you had some qualms, some questions about the decisions made.
It's difficult.
Obviously, we had Alfonso Herrera in goal. That's always the case. Victor Garcia, left back. Alex Pastor, Nelson Monte at centre back. Carlos Puga at right back. Juanpe and Luismi in the centre midfield position. Lobete, Aaron Ochoa Maloney, and Antonito on the right. And then Sergio Castel up top. What did you make of all of the starting 11?
That Pellicer rested some players, right? He rested Manu Molina and he rested Dioni. And he started with Castel. Let me see other changes. Ochoa is not a real starter. No Dani Lorenzo. No David La Rubia. So there's two other players who have been rested for this match. And then I think, Alex, after drawing almost every match this season, we won 2, we lost 1.
8 draws, 11 games.
Yeah. I ask myself, and I have 2 explanations. It makes sense that when you play 3 matches in 7 days, that you have to rest players. That makes total sense. The question is to you, do you rest them when you have the most chance to win? Or do you rest them when you have the least chance to win, but you're playing for your own fans in your own stadium?
This is, perhaps why I'm not a manager and perhaps why I haven't gone down that route of qualifications. I am of the school of thought that I would rest players against the lesser team and play my stronger players at home in front of, in this case, Eibar, who are doing quite well this season, playoff pushing. I can understand the other school of thought of playing your strong players in a game where you think this is a game where we could win. Obviously, Tenerife is struggling in the relegation zone, propping up the rest of the table. But then if you rest those players, if you don't rest those players against a lesser team, you're then having to consider resting them against a stronger team. So I'm leaning towards what Pellicer has done in terms of resting them against a lesser team to then play them against a better team. But
And you're playing at home on Sunday.
Exactly, against in front, as you said, in front of your own
Yeah.
fans.
And it's 26,000 people who will come to the stadium to see you play. If you then play with the second team, it's a bit ugly. But now, to me, it also feels a bit like we draw this match. Well, if there is one fish struggling in the ocean, it's Tenerife. I mean, I think if we started with our best 11, we would have won. But what did I see in the first half? The whole first half, it was only Tenerife attacking and Malaga creating nothing. Yeah, maybe one shot on target from Ochoa Maloney in the 44th minute, but that's about it. And well, then I ask myself, like, if you, I'm not sure because you still can draw the match. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you really had to win this one, and maybe if you win this one, you go into the next match with a better feeling.
Mm-hmm. And less pressure.
Another draw. I mean, you have to be careful with points, I think, and take the points where you have the most chances of taking them.
Yes.
I think that's what makes you a smart manager, and not being afraid to leave your players on the bench on a Sunday.
I think
Because at the end of the day, a manager um, is being, how do you call it? Being uh, is being judged by his results, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have nothing to say. Oh wow, we come 2 points short at the end of the season, at last match day. Yeah, but at least we saw the best team playing against Eibar at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a conundrum that thankfully I'm not to blame for or responsible for. But Malaga did play a weaker 11 against Tenerife. We'll come on to the performance perhaps more in a little bit. But first, Chris, I have to ask you about the first major incident of the first half, the penalty. Having looked at it in real time, having looked at it back, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with the decision? Do you not agree with the decision? Where do you land on this one?
Well, I watched the match yesterday, and after the match, because I was preparing the podcast and everything, and you prepared the podcast, I saw the moment back about 70 times. I went to bed. I don't know. I was a bit, how do you call it, worried. I was worried when I went to bed. So I woke up, took my morning coffee, watched it back another 50 times, and then I thought something's wrong. So I went to the doctor. I said, look, I think I have problems with my sight. He said, sure, Chris. Do you have any headaches? I said, no. He said, well, stop by anyway. So I went to the doctors. We made a scan of my eyes. I had to tell him from with one eye closed all the letters who were on the board. We did all the steps. I saw them all. He said, your eyes are fine. So I think, Alex, if you ask me what happened at that moment, I don't think I have an answer for you because I looked at it so many times and I don't know. I don't know how that is. It is a foul. I can tell you that it's definitely a foul because his first leg goes, and with his second, I don't know what he does, but he really hits the player very nasty.
Mm.
There's only one problem. It all happened outside the box. I don't know. You tell me.
No, I mean it's a difficult one. There are fine lines to it. It is on the line, I guess you could say. Part of him's in the box, part of him's outside the box. To be
But
honest,
it is about the player who is being. I mean, the Tenerife player is completely outside of the box, and the
yeah.
choice is being made on him.
Well, this is the big question. I mean, you come in charging like that, and I agree with you. I think it was a foul, but I think in these situations, the benefit of the doubt has to go to the defensive side.
I really saw it 60 times back. I didn't see any foul. Not well, I seen the foul, but the player is outside the box, or maybe his toe ticks the box, but it has to be inside the box. That's the rule.
Yeah, no,
The
I
line
mean it's a grey area, and I think from the referee having looked at it in real time to
yeah,
give that
and
decision,
that's the thing. There is a referee and there's VAR. Does none of them see that it's outside the box?
this is what begs the question. Surely, as a fourth official, you're looking at that. He has all the angles. He can tell the ref. I know it's the ref that then decides at the end of the day whether it's a penalty or not, but there has to be a better use of technology that the guys with all the angles go, ref, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's outside the box.
But
You can't give that a penalty.
I mean, you cannot explain this. If you are the Spanish referee committee, you cannot defend this in any possible way because the player is completely out of the box. It makes no sense at all. But let's not talk too much about it because what happened, Alex?
Well, thankfully, it was perhaps one of the worst penalties I've seen in quite a while, so we didn't have to worry about it going in. I think
The credit is for Alfonso Herrera who just looked the ball.
to be honest, I think he would have saved it if it was on target as well.
Yeah.
I think, and this is not often that you get to say this, but with Alfonso Herrera in goal, I'm actually quite confident when it comes to him saving penalties.
Yeah.
In terms of, usually with a keeper, you think if he gets there, yes, he might save it, but it takes it more towards the 50-50 when Alfonso Herrera was in goal. Now, moving on to the rest of the first half, you mentioned it that there wasn't anything particularly pressing from either side. Tenerife had the majority of the chances.
Tenerife had good chances.
Yeah, they had good chances. Herrero made some good saves, but I wouldn't say there was anything, I wouldn't say there was anything, a pinnacle moment where they should have scored that. I think there were good saves, good shots, good opportunities. But do you think it's fair to say that Malaga were slow to start?
I think this is the worst Malaga I've seen this season, and maybe
Worse than Elche.
Yeah,
Worse than Elche.
I think so. And I also think that I haven't seen Malaga starting like this last season either.
What would you put that down to? What do you think it is down to the substitutions, or do you think it's?
I think partly substitutions.
Do you think the opposition had a role to play in that?
I think 1-2 changes in a team don't make a big difference, but 4 changes are already too much changes. And when you look at the pitch, defense stays nearly the same. The only change is Luismi, who comes back from an injury, but he played like the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And all those changes are up top. Ochoa starting, Juanpe starting, Lobet starting, and Costel starting.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Kevin. There is no
No La Rubia, no.
no Dani Lorenzo, no Manny Molina, no Dioni. I think that's the biggest problem, and the whole midfield was probably, except for Luigi, was different.
Yeah, I mean it was a different side. I think that's fair to say.
And I think we think we are we are up in Segunda. We lost one match. I think they totally missed the wake up call against Elche as well.
You would feel that the reaction from a loss such as Elche would spark something. It would spark something, a catalyst for change. Since Elche, we've drawn with Deportivo La Coruña, drawn with Cádiz, drawn with Oviedo, and drawn with Tenerife. In fact, in our last 6 games, we've drawn 5 and lost 1. The last time we beat a team, or the last time we won a game, was Huesca, and then before that, Albacete on match week 2.
I also, it's a bit of a thing like when you draw, it doesn't suck that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not as catastrophic as perhaps losing all of the games.
So if you draw, then it's we draw. Oh, what a pity. Yeah. And then you get used to it, you know? There's no motivation. Because next week if you draw again, it's still everything okay. You know what I mean?
It's almost that phrase they have, kicking the can down the road of, there is a problem here, we're not winning games, but because we're not losing,
yeah,
we're also not too worried about, worried is the wrong way of saying it, but there's not an easier pressure to change things.
Yeah, we will draw. Because as soon as when we get behind against Granada, for example, as the moment we get the rivals gets up front, something happens in the team, and then they manage to score a goal or 2 goals or how many they are needed. You know, then there is that sparkle.
It's a switch that gets flicked.
But till then, everything's fine.
It is, and I'll come on to that later. I think that's quite a pressing issue. We talked about the first half, how Malaga was slow to start, not at the races. Coming into the second half, Tenerife had another penalty shot. It wasn't given, just again with Victor Garcia. I think that was probably the right decision on this occasion, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, maybe.
It was a 50-50 challenge, I think.
Our position is biased, isn't it, Alex?
It is.
Like everything we do say, I always think 30 times about these moments. What am I going to say? Am I really seeing it right? Am I not too biased? I think it's a 50-50. It could have gone either way.
Yeah. So that was about it to report from the game. Malaga only had the 1 shot on target the whole game.
No. Dioni had 1 massive header that hit the crossbar.
Technically, that doesn't count as a shot on target, according to the stats. But I know what you mean. For point's sake, 2 shots on target then.
If you hit the crossbar with your head, I think that's the closest both teams came to a goal.
Yeah. I mean, so you look at the stats. Malaga had 5 shots. Tenerife had 12. Malaga had 1 shot on target. And then obviously the crossbar chance from Dioni. And you talked about this, Chris. No, the fact that it's almost like a switch gets flicked. And we go behind and we change. How does Pellicer change that? Because do you put that down to the attack being poured, the midfield? Do you put it down to Pellicer's tactics?
I think it's the whole team, and I think maybe partially Pellicer is the reason why this happens, maybe.
And do you think that it's something he can change with tactics, or do you think it is just a lack of quality of players that we have?
I've seen videos for Mourinho, for example. Do you think this would happen in a Mourinho football team?
If it did happen, it would be a lot more entertaining. But no,
I mean,
I don't think it would happen.
I think Pellicer is also a very relaxed manager who keeps things calm and easygoing, and I think this is the result what you get. And we saw it last season as well. Maybe a lot of draws, everything was fine. We're okay. But with Mourinho, this wouldn't happen, or even Pep Guardiola. I saw images of Pep Guardiola being angry.
That is a good point. I mean, you rarely see Sergio Pellicer effing and blinding, screaming at the players on the touchline. Perhaps wasn't the best manager at Malaga, but Pablo Guede, that's something you saw from him, that passion on the sidelines. We've seen it from managers in the past, and you say there, Mourinho, Guardiola. It's
with the light bulb.
It feels, and obviously every manager has their style. Just because a manager shouts doesn't mean that he's a good manager.
No.
But would you? At what point do you start looking at Pellicer and going, "Are you unable to take this side?"
There's still a lot of Pellicer. I don't think we should change him, but I think this is a bit of what you get with Pellicer. I'm not saying we should replace him because I don't know for who, and I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, because drawing is also not losing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
It's a big question, because obviously, I wrote down here in the notes, is it ridiculous to start questioning Pellicer? And it is at some point worrying, the amount of draws, but then, like you said, we're drawing games, we're not losing games, we're still getting the points. Pellicer said after the game, we made changes and tried to make the best out of it. We have a long run of games coming up, and they will push us to the limit. Against Eibar, there will be more changes, and sometimes it's difficult to make an effect coming off the bench into a game. He said we lacked that change of speed a little. It comes back to that question of, do you think that's down to the players, or do you think that's something that yes, we rotated players, but surely by rotating players, that shouldn't take away every quality that we have as an attacking side?
But he also should know, because he works with them every day, what it's going to be like when you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he did here was trying to not taking the responsibility of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also not putting it at the players. So he's also not pointing at the players. He's just leaving it in the middle.
He did also say that, yes, we weren't at our best, but it seemed to hinge on those comments of, we have a lot of games coming up. I had to make these changes to ensure that we get the best out of the players over the course of the, like you say, 3 games in a week. And
watching him is like watching a political debate, isn't it? Or a political, I don't know, voting campaign. I mean, these are all political answers.
It's true.
Because he uses a lot of words, but he's saying nothing. I
think at the end of the day, you're obviously never going to get a manager saying, yeah, we were pretty bad. I think, I made a mistake here, I made a mistake there. Maybe you would on the occasion, but
depends which manager.
Yeah, some managers do, I think.
I saw Mourinho this week.
Yeah. Mourinho is always very honest. I feel like he's the other end of the spectrum when it comes to managing.
Louis van Gaal, for example. Arne Slot is also very... So there are a lot of managers who say things.
Yeah.
Ancelotti. Is he political?
I think Ancelotti is very measured. He can be honest, but I think he's measured, and he does it in a very good way. Similar to Hansi Flick, for example. I don't think, Hansi Flick's very measured, he's calm.
So these press conferences, and you've been to a lot of them more than I did. It's a bit to fill the newspapers, isn't it?
I think at the end of the day, the questions that you get from reporters at the end of the day is, obviously it's different when it's a Malaga versus Real Madrid, because, when it comes to Real Madrid, there's a lot more questions trying to get those answers, those headlines. There's not a great deal going on at Malaga that's on the level of stuff going on at the top level in La Liga. This is more, when you look at Pellicer's press conferences, it's more, and I think this is where I would like to see a little bit more honesty, is at this level,
Here's what you say.
It's not about, at the end of the day, yes, he might want to protect his players. He doesn't want to blame them in public, but I would like to see just a little bit more. Honesty is the wrong word, but a little, like you said, a little bit more
Opener.
Yeah, a bit more open about the answers, and perhaps, him saying, I'm happy with him saying, he said it himself, we weren't at our best, but then blaming it on the changes, it feels, I don't know. We should have the ability to make changes and still compete with a team in the division, let alone talking about a team that's bottom of the table. We're making changes and we're drawing with bottom of the table.
Yeah,
that's pretty disappointing, if you ask me.
it is. It totally is, and that's a bit the thing. I think most press conferences I watched, and you watched a few, you've been to a few. I think it's all a bit, I don't know. We weren't at our best today.
Mm.
The players have tried. Of course, the players have tried.
Mm.
We weren't at our best today. No, we have seen that as well.
Mm.
It's all these all political answers that we all know what he's going to say, because that's the thing we noticed as well. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah. No, I think. Yeah, well, we could be on this subject for hours. Moving on to wrap things up about Tenerife. Chumbo and Biznaga, Chris. Who is your Chumbo from this game?
Juanpe is my chumbo.
Juanpe. Any particular reasons?
I don't think he adds something to the team. And if he does, I don't know what it is.
I'm going to go with Sergio Castel. I thought he was rather disappointing. No shots on target, no shots. 19 touches, 8 accurate passes. Very, very quiet. And yes, you could say he's not getting the service, but I would just like to see a little bit more from him. Perhaps he's not the striker.
I'm keeping him as my friend this season.
Yes, our Aussie friend.
Yes, Aussie friend.
Your Biznaga. And I think
Biznaga.
there's perhaps one, maybe two obvious choices for this one.
I think the only player we really have seen was Antonito, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the better ones, but I'm going with Alfonso Herrero. It's been a while.
I am as well. I think he made some cracking saves, kept us in it, arguably won us the point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Alfonso Herrero Biznaga of the week. Well, that wraps up our talk about Tenerife and Malaga. 0-0, it finished. Malaga ending that match week in 14th with 14 points, 2 wins, 8 losses. Sorry, 2 wins, 8 draws and a loss. 10 goals for, 11 goals against. 4 points off the playoffs, and more importantly, 4 points off the relegation zone. Now, Malaga do have another game this weekend against Eibar at home. My perceptions, my initial thoughts of this one: Eibar high flying. They're 7th. They're 1 point. Well, they're equal on points with Levante, who sit in 6th. They're just behind with 5 wins, 3 losses, and 3 draws. Equal defensive record to Malaga, and only scored 2 more goals than Malaga. But it is that thing: 5 wins, Malaga 2 wins. How do you?
I have a question for you, Alex.
Go for it.
Do you know a lot of Eibar?
Do I know a lot about Eibar?
Yeah.
As a club?
No, about the season, how it's going.
I mean,
Like, you have all the intel on Eibar.
I don't have all the intel. I'm not an Eibar mad fan.
And I have good news for you. Very good.
I do think I know where you're going with this one.
I have very good news for you. Because there is a show, and it's called the Spanish Segunda Show, and they know a lot about all the clubs in the Segunda División. And we are lucky because we have a bit of insight about Eibar. So, Alex, are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it. Let's listen to my namesake.
Drop it in, Alex Fitzpatrick.
Malaga take on Eibar in La Rosaleda on Sunday at 2 p.m. And it's going to be a much changed Eibar side from last season. Gone in the summer with some of their key attacking talent, Stoichkov, Soriano and Akeche, 3 of their 4 key attacking players last season. Bautista does remain up front though, 17 goals he scored last year, 3 so far this year. He'll be flanked probably by Antonio Puertas, formerly of Granada, and Jeba Alcain, who arrived from Deportivo Alaves. In central midfield, Matias Pereira still keeps them ticking. The season started well for Eibar. They were unbeaten in their first 6, but have only won 2 of their next 5, losing the other 3. Every single one of their 5 wins this season has been by a 0-0. So whilst they still play good football, it's not sort of the free-flowing attacking Eibar that they used to have with that attacking talent that I mentioned a moment ago that have left. Of course, this is the third of 3 games in a week for both these sides. Eibar played at home, winning 1-0 on Wednesday night against Cádiz. On Thursday, Malaga made that long trip to Tenerife, and that extra 24 hours of rest plus the long flight from Tenerife for Malaga could prove vital. Eibar have changed recently to a 3-4-3 formation, but an injury to key defender Aaron Barry means that they've had to revert back to that 4-2-3-1 in the midweek game, and Aaron Barry is highly unlikely to be back for this one, which means that they may have to stick with that 4 at the back rather than the preferred 3. Arbia, the veteran, will return from suspension to lead that Eibar defence. That's Malaga against Eibar on Sunday at 2 p.m. Spanish.
Well, so excellently said by our friend of the pod at Spanish Segunda podcast, Alex Fitzpatrick. Eibar on Sunday. Chris, will you be there?
Of course, yes.
It's, as Alex said, the form at the beginning of the season for Eibar, good start, but only 2 wins from their last 5. Malaga, as we said, only 1 win from their last 7. It's been a mixed season for Malaga, but a positive season for Eibar. But perhaps a good time to play them, Chris.
I think so. I don't think it's a bad time to play them. I also have a strategy, and that's La Ley del X. I thought if we start Romani, and you know what happens with La Ley del X, ex-players have a big chance scoring against their former teams. And what was Romani's previous team? That's Eibar.
So you're sticking Eibar on that left wing. Well, that actually leads into my first question. What changes would you make to your Malaga side coming into this game from the Tenerife game?
Well, I would bring back Manu Molina.
Mm-hmm.
I would bring back in David La Rubia.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep Antonito.
Mm-hmm.
I would change Costel for Dioni. And I don't know. Bring in Romani. Bring him in.
I think I would like to see that. I think I agree with most of those. Well, all of those changes. To be honest, I think it is about time we saw him fire. I think, Chris, how would you rate his start to the season? It's not been the best, has it?
No, and that's what I've said. He was a great player one season, but how good was he really? You know what I mean? It was easy to stand out in that team.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think you're always extra motivated when you play against your former team. That's a fact. I don't know. I don't know what Malaga has to do to spice things up again.
That is the question. How do Malaga change things? Is this a case of, obviously we're not going to hit panic stations yet. It's still only 11 games into the season. We talk about that magic 50-point mark. Alex Fitzpatrick talked about, their form, some of the players that they've lost over the summer and players that will be playing and won't be playing on Sunday. If Malaga don't pick up 3 points at the weekend, say we lose or get a draw, are you starting to get worried? Or is it too early for that?
I think a draw is pretty fine if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's against Eibar. I don't think it's a bad
No.
thing.
Perhaps then the question is, if we lose, do you start to worry?
If we lose, we have 14 points, Alex. 14.
Mm-hmm. 4 points above the drop zone.
Yeah, that's not much. We only need 36 more points.
The magic point mark.
Now, I think you can perfectly draw this one. I think that wouldn't be a shame. But I think Malaga would have to get 3 points, need 3 points really soon. I think the players need to know what winning is again.
You've been to, well, I haven't been to a game this season. You've been to every home game?
Missed last week because I had to work.
All bar one home game. You've seen them play. You've seen where they've gone wrong, seen what they've done well. What on the pitch, ignoring player selection for the moment, what would you like to see more from Malaga? And we talked about their slow starts. What would you like to see more from Malaga in order to turn those draws into wins?
More cojones.
In terms of just,
I don't know. Eat the pitch up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Go on the pitch and, I don't know, fight for every ball. Show that you can play football. And don't come on the pitch like you always do. I mean, just give your all 90 minutes, but with the whole team, as a team.
Yeah, I think that's I think a good point to make. I think if I'm looking more at a specific, attacking, looking at the goals, Malaga have only scored 10 goals this season.
Yeah, but I think I'm more confident in scoring goals this season than last season so far.
Yeah, I think that is. I mean, obviously the quality of opposition has changed a lot, but we're still able to create those chances. But from what you've seen, do you still feel like there's improvements to be made in this attack? Not in terms of players, but in terms of the way we play.
Of course, because I don't think we have enough shots on targets per match. I think that's what's lacking. But then when you watch the matches, there are also no really clear chances. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I looked at Tenerife yesterday, they missed 7 or 8 clear chances which they could have. I don't see Malaga get so many chances in a match.
You want to see them just test the goalkeeper, and I'm very.
They create too little. They come to the box, and then I don't know. They lose confidence, or they don't know what to do. I get the impression that I don't know what to do, or I'm afraid to give that ball, or I don't know. It's always passing the ball around till all the defenders are back at their place.
It comes back to that point you made about cojones in terms of taking ownage of it yourself and saying,
take risk.
I'm going to go take on this player. I'm going to take a shot. I'm not going to pass it to the next man and see what he does and pass the responsibility off.
I mean, yeah. And if you are, I don't know, if you're Pastor or you're Nelson Monte, and go up once again, once in a time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Go for it. Take a sprint up front.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. I think I'd just like to see that a little bit more urgency, a little bit more buzz about
when we're attacking. It seems like we don't want to have the ball, or when we have the ball, we don't want to make any mistakes.
We're too scared. Not scared is the wrong word, but I think
because I saw Kevin coming on yesterday, and directly had some great moves. He's not scared, and that's what I like about him. It always ends up with nothing, because he's always taking it too far to the limit. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd rather see a player take on a player 3 times and lose the ball every time than pass it back to the left back or the right back.
A bit much more than Kevin. Well, much more like Kevin. Somewhere in the middle. Also a little less than Kevin.
Yeah. To wrap things up, to sort of circle the circle, finish the circle. I asked you before the Elche game a rating out of 10 for the team for the season so far. I think you gave quite a high mark. I think you gave them a 7 or an 8, if I remember correctly. What would you give them now?
I think it's still very early in the season. I'm giving them a 7.
7? Any reason as to why it's not lower?
I think a 6.5.
6.5. Okay.
Yeah, because nothing really changed much, but we also didn't get better. You know what I mean? So there's no improvement, and no improvement is staying behind. So 6.5.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that just about wraps things up. To summarize what we've said, obviously Malaga at home against Eibar on Sunday, 2:00 local time. A win could see us move up to as high as 9th if results go away, obviously. It's very much dependent on that. A draw would probably only see us move up 1 point, if that. And Chris, you're going to be there. I assume Matt won't be there. Is he off on his travels to Barcelona, or is he staying around for the game?
I think he will. I think Matt will be there for the game.
So Matt will be there. And, well, 2:00 on a Sunday afternoon, local time. Malaga against Eibar. Any more thoughts to add, or are you happy with that, Chris? We'll wrap things up, and
I'm happy. I'm happy and peppy. That's what we say in Holland. Happy the peppy. I thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like. If you want to know more of Alex Ashmore, what he's doing during the week, watch Real Madrid TV. And because you're back on Real Madrid TV, isn't it?
Yes, whenever I can, occasionally, with my busy schedule.
And check out Nigerian, African. What was the website?
Sporty TV.
Oh yeah, Sport. I always forget it. I always see it and I always forget it. Check out Sporty TV. It's actually quite nice, and you have great colleagues there in the TV studios.
Yeah, we're a good trio. I think the bond, the dynamic we have works very well.
Yeah. Enjoy your evening every day, or enjoy your day. My name is Chris Marquez. Thank you for watching To The Gearycast. See you back next week. Ciao.
Ciao. Everyone.